The Charlotte Hornets fumbled 3 winnable games and now they're on a 6-game losing streak. Welcome to the StinBA channel. My name is Stin, and today we'll be talking some Charlotte Hornets basketball. As always, there's some news and 3 games to talk about. Starting off with the news, it was actually revealed that Jeff Peterson is not the president of basketball operations. He's actually the vice president. Also, the Hornets hired Dantun Akinwale as their assistant GM, so it looks like they're still in the hunt for a GM. Now it's time to talk about the injuries. In the last outing, Seth Curry and Cody Martin left the game with ankle sprains. The PR team says that they'll be re-evaluated in 2 weeks, which is now about a week and a half at the time of this recording. This means that they missed the whole slate of games for this week, and they will miss next week's games unless something miraculous happens. Alright, now with that out of the way, it's time to talk about the first game on the slate, Hornets versus Raptors. The Hornets were without Nick Richards because of plantar fascia discomfort, so with no NBA caliber 7-footers, they had to run a small ball lineup with a 6'6" Grant Williams playing center. It was just about an evenly played game for the first 3 quarters until the Hornets got themselves into a 15-point deficit in the start of the 4th quarter. They clawed their way back and actually went on a big run to take a 1-point lead with about 1 minute left. But it was all downhill from there, as from that moment, the Raptors ended the game on a 9-3 run. Miles and Brandon gave it their all. Grant Williams had a solid game, and even though I don't like Bertans' shoot-first mentality, regardless of if he's open or not, I have to admit that he made some big shots. I blame this game on the guard play. Trey Mann hasn't been good since the Atlanta Hawks game before the All-Star break, but really, the person that I'm looking at is Vasilije Micic. He had 12 points on 41% true shooting and 4 turnovers, but the base stats just don't show how terrible he was in this game. First off, he can't make layups at an NBA level, which was apparent when he first got to the team, but it really showed in this game. And he makes bad decisions with the basketball, far more than just 4 turnovers would suggest. And speaking of turnovers, it was only fitting that the game ended on a Micic turnover where he dribbled the ball into traffic and lost it. Hornets were down 3 with around 17 seconds left. They had time to get a shot, and that's what makes it so frustrating. Even if they missed the shot, I could have lived with this game if they at least got something up on the rim, but that didn't happen. The only optimistic thing that I can say is that Micic shouldn't even be in that position. He's a bench player, not a starter. And that gets me to my next point. I've been seeing a lot of talk saying that there's no reason for LaMelo to come back because the Hornets aren't making the playoffs, and I just can't stand that mentality. If LaMelo can play, then he should play. He can't get better at the game by sitting on the sideline, so there's that. He's not an established player like LeBron or Steph that have a complete game and they have a lot of championships and success in the NBA to fall back on. No, LaMelo is a young star player that has room to grow. If he can play, then he should definitely play. Next, I agree that for LaMelo's whole tenure, the Hornets front office has been incompetent, giving him players like Gordon Hayward, Mason Plumlee, Ish Smith, and a bunch of other bad or non-NBA caliber players to play with. But the Hornets are moving in a new direction. They made the trades and have a completely new team of NBA caliber players. The Hornets front office has done their part and are still looking to make some big moves to help transform the Hornets into a winner. The front office stepped up. Now it's time to see how these new additions fit with LaMelo, which will make the offseason process easier in terms of players that they look to keep or deal. This isn't an NBA 2K simulation where LaMelo's going to be the same player after missing months of basketball and they can just place LaMelo back in the lineup and everything is going to click. No, these are real people. LaMelo has to get back in playing shape and that chemistry with the team has to be developed, especially since it's a new team that has a bunch of players that he's never played with before. It isn't going to happen instantaneously. It might not happen after the first game or the first week or even the first month. So if LaMelo can go out there and and start gelling with his new teammates in some NBA games being played against NBA competition at an NBA speed, that would be nice for not just him, but the team as well. So everyone can get used to their roles and so the Hornets front office can know what they have. There's no such thing as wasted playing time in the NBA, playoffs or not. If LaMelo can play, then he should, and that's just what I have to say about it. Now with that out of the way, it's time for the Hornets versus Magic game. This was the most frustrating game of the week because, like I said last week, the Magic are worse than what their record shows, and that was showcased this week when they had a clean injury report, but they struggled to beat a depleted 15-win Hornets team, and on the next night, they struggled to beat a Wizards team with 9 wins at the time. Based on the way that this game was going, this was totally a winnable game. Everyone had good performances except for Miles Bridges, and the game was low scoring and close midway through the third quarter. But the Magic caught fire from 3 to close the third quarter and entering the fourth quarter, and that really sealed the game for them as the Hornets just didn't have enough firepower. The game wasn't being officiated in the Hornets' favor either. The amount of injuries that the Hornets suffered and how physical the Magic got to play was frustrating, and although fouls were called at points, I feel like not enough was done to discourage the physical play of the Magic, and that chipped away at an already depleted Hornets team as the game went on. Vasilier, Trey, Nick, and Grant all either got hit in the face or someone stepped on their foot, which was unfortunate. Also, I know that Miles had to leave the third quarter with a right wrist contusion, which he returned from in this game, but that was surprising because he's been such an Iron Man, at least in his last 2 seasons, barely misses games. The Magic got to play a really physical game, but in the end, they're probably a playoff team this year. The Hornets aren't, so there's no incentive for the refs to protect or favor the Hornets at this point in the season. The Hornets have nothing to play for, while the Magic are playing for a playoff spot, so it's understandable. But yeah, that's how the game went. The last game on the slate is the Hornets versus Wizards game. Going into this game, the Wizards were on a 16-game losing streak, and if they lost one more game, then that would have been their longest losing streak in franchise history. So of course, in Hornets fashion, they allowed the Wizards to end their losing streak on them. Trey Mann was downgraded to out about an hour before tip-off with a groin issue, so that's something that didn't go the Hornets' way. I'm not mad about the first 3 quarters of the game because everyone played well and the Hornets hung in there and actually had a solid lead that they were able to push up to double digits in the opening moments of the fourth quarter. But it was all downhill from there. The offense only mustered up 24 points, which is alright, especially for this Hornets team. But the defense gave up 44 points, and with around 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter, they fouled too much and got the Wizards in the bonus, meaning that they got to shoot free throws for the remainder of the quarter. It was another winnable game where the Hornets got out-executed down the stretch. That's all the games for this week. Looking at the slate for next week, the Hornets get just about the same opportunity that they got this week, getting to play a lot of teams that are below 500 by a lot. Today, they will play the Nets at home. On Monday, they will play the Pistons on the road. On Wednesday, they will play the Grizzlies on the road. And the outlier is the Phoenix Suns that they will play on Friday at home. That's a good team. So if the Hornets want to get a win or 2 or 3, then they probably have to make that happen within the next 3 games. But in the NBA, anything can happen. All right, that's the news for this week.